Good evening, everyone. I'm Heather Vitale, and thanks for tuning in to Harness Racing Updates 2's in Training, sponsored by the Winback Stallion Art Speak, standing in Ontario, and by Crawford Farms. In 2019, trainer Tony Alagna had a career best year. But his milestones didn't just take place on the racetrack. He added the first ever $1 million standardbred yearling to be sold at auction to his roster. So with established champions and up-and-coming stars, what's next in 2020? Good question. Grab your life jacket, because we're about to set sail on the Alagna Armada.
Art Speak, the complete stallion package with looks, pedigree, and performance. He was 2-year-old Gold Pacer of the Year in the U.S. and in Canada. He's a multiple stakes winner at 2 and 3, including the Governor's Cup, Bluegrass Stakes, and the New Jersey Sire Stakes finals twice. Art Speak's first crop includes 2019 2-year-old PA Stakes winners, and his first Ontario crop was born in 2019. He stands at Winback Farm of Ontario, where he served the full book in 2019. Book early for 2020. Visit winbackfarm.com.
Our passion and our promise to breed the best and sell the best so you can race the best. Crawford Farms, home to more than 100 impeccably bred broodmares, sharing lush forever fields alongside racehorses and retirees. They call it the sport of kings. We call it the love of champions. From our farm to the winner's circle, share our passion. Crawford Farms.
Hey everybody, Heather Vitale here again, and you may be noticing that, well, I don't have my usual harness racing update polo on. I'm a little more dressed up, and some people might be saying, oh, it's because Tony Alagna's on the show, and you know what? Yeah, you're right, it is, because Tony is on the show. He is in Florida. I'm in New Jersey. Or I'm sorry, I'm in Delaware. New Jersey? I guess I'm wishing I'm in New Jersey watching horses racing because of this whole COVID-19 thing. It's like erupting, and here we are in different states, and we should be seeing each other. So what is happening, Tony? Like, how is COVID-19 like messing up your life?
Well, it's so much different because normally you're down in Florida and you come by the farm to see us. And, this year you've had to switch things up. We're doing it over the internet. And, it's part of what's happened with the COVID-19. I mean, you see, weathermen and sports broadcasters doing their job from behind the desk at their own houses. And just so everybody knows watching, I am not wearing any pants tonight.
Oh my gosh, you know what? Wait, I was going to say I'm not either, but I am in a dress. So does that count? I mean, like, because I am not wearing pants. I actually have a dress on. But, it's so crazy. Like, everything that's happening, I'm so used to you by this time. You would have been up to Jersey by now, right? Because you're at Sunshine Meadows in Florida.
Yeah, that's correct. Normally we send the 3-year-olds up to New Jersey around the 1st of April, and we leave the babies down here for another month and try to have them out of here the 1st of May. So the month of April I spend traveling back and forth between Sunshine Meadows and Gateway so we can have the 3-year-olds acclimated, ready to qualify, and qualified at the Meadowlands. But with everything with COVID-19 this year, it's been a real change of plans for everybody. And every week, every day, we're waiting to hear what's going on and what we should do, so that way we know our next step with the horses and planning for their future.
One of the things about Sunshine Meadows is the deck. And I know a lot of people out there know about the deck, but it's one of those things where it's become, kind of a ritual maybe for the owners to come out to see their babies. So explain the deck and how COVID-19 has, been a part of that.
Yeah, the deck was originally Frankie Anacci and the Lindy Farms, and Ron Gerfine, his barn was where I'm at now. And they had always had a deck there. When I came down to Florida, I decided that, we would revamp it and try to make it more of a place for everybody to get together. Myron Bell spearheaded it, of course, with his wife, Stephanie. They said, we're going to do something. We're going to call it On the Deck. And try to get it a place for people to come out on Saturdays, watch their horses train, and make it more of a social gathering so people can get together and enjoy it. And we've really made it something where people really enjoy. And a lot of times on a Saturday there'll be 40 to 50 people out there watching their horses train, or just out there to visit and watch the horses that their friends own. And it's become really a nice event. And I remember Marvin Katz saying to me one day, he said, "You made Florida sexy again." And we really enjoyed that, had a good time with it. And, since the COVID, of course, the numbers have dropped back. It's amazing that, people would think with the way we do things and with the deck and everything like that, we've really taken a lot of precautions. They social distance. Everybody comes out, they sit in their cars, they stay apart from each other, they wear protective masks. So, we're even doing our part to make sure that everybody stays healthy here at the farm, because, we've touched wood, had no sickness, no illness at the farm, and that's made us able to continue to do our job. And we've even had qualifiers here every Friday. The farm's been able to put on qualifiers every week. And, it's been a real blessing that everybody stayed healthy where we're at.
That's so awesome. No, it's good. Absolutely. Everybody needs to take those measures to make sure that everybody is staying safe. And wow, this is kind of like you're the Justin Timberlake of harness racing. You're bringing sexy back. Just saying.
Just the deck, not me.
What about your time away from the barn? How are you keeping busy? I hear that you are into Netflix a little bit. Maybe you're watching Tiger King?
Yeah, there was something that came out the other day when all this was starting to happen with the COVID-19 and the measures that everybody needed to take. And after work, going to your house, and I said, this is really no different than what I do every day in Florida. We're down here and it's our downtime. We're not racing at night. We go out and do things, but I really enjoy being at home in my house. I built a house in Florida 4 years ago, and I really enjoy being home. So I don't go out that much anyway when I'm in Florida, so it really hasn't been that much of a difference from what I normally do. Yeah, I've been on to watch a little Netflix. There's a couple shows on there that have been pretty good. I've never watched Peaky Blinders. I'm going to admit it right now to everybody. I've never seen an episode of Peaky Blinders until the COVID-19 started in, and I watched every episode that was available. I just finished watching Schitt's Creek, which is a tremendous show with Eugene Levy. And what was the name of that other show? Tiger King. That was another show I just got done watching.
Okay, so the big question is, did Carol Baskin kill her husband?
Absolutely. She whacked him.
Yeah. I'm with you. And actually, before the show started tonight, we did say that, did Nancy Tactor watch Tiger King? We're kind of wondering that. She says she didn't, but maybe she did.
She absolutely. There's as big a shot that she watched it as Carol Baskin killed her husband. Nancy Tactor has seen it. She won't admit it. She'd feel so much better about herself if she just admitted. So that's the first step, Nancy, admitting it. Admitting you have an addiction to Tiger King.
Absolutely. There's different steps that you take, and that's the first one. Now, also talking about COVID-19, by this time, I kind of feel like, all right, your horses be moved to New Jersey and then some to Canada. So your mom, Donna Lee, who has been a huge influence on your life and works with you. By now, she would be in Canada. So, how has that influenced your relationship with your mom? With Mother's Day just a few days away, be careful of what you say.
I have to be really careful because I believe she's watching with a few of our at her place. A condo down here in Florida this winter, so it's a little tougher to get her to leave, I believe, this winter than normal. But she's looking forward to getting up to Canada, once everything opens up and she can go up there and do her quarantine. We're very lucky. We have a wonderful couple that worked for us last year up in Canada, and they're ready to take horses whenever we're ready to send them up. So, we're thinking ahead, but at the same time, being careful and making sure we do everything the right way.
Absolutely. So, we could talk about like so many of the champions that you've had in the past. Art Speak, Stay Hungry, Caprice Hill. We don't want to get your mom upset. We got to talk about Caprice Hill, right? Put her in the
Gotta
mix.
mention her.
But of course, my all-time favorite is Captain Treacherous. He was just magical, honestly. I mean, not only did he win races, he won fans. He's becoming this fantastic breeding influence now. Being connected with a horse like that, it's really hard to explain, right?
Yeah, he was our first big time horse. We had horse Major Bombay that won some stake races, but he was our first big time horse. And first crop Some Beach Somewhere. Myron Bell went to the sale looking to buy the best son of Some Beach he could. And this was a colt that we both definitely were on the same page about. And he was a game changer for us. And we're so happy to see what he's doing now on the breeding shed. And it's one of them things. It was so surreal when we had the horse. In the course of things, he's winning races. We're going here, we're going there, we're meeting a lot of great people. I actually met Brad Grant, like he had mentioned in a story the other day on HRU. We met traveling together to a race. He had Apprentice Hanover and I had Captain Treacherous. So, the great people we met along the way, and it happens so fast, you really don't appreciate what's happening until it's over. And then you go back and you look on his races and the things he did. And, it was really a great time for us. And, we're really enjoying racing his sons and daughters.
One of my favorite things about him was the Captain Cam. If people don't remember it, I mean, you had a camera that 24 hours, it was like you could log on at any time and see Captain Treacherous. And one of the funniest things about the cam is, I don't know if I was the only one that texted you, but I would be like, Tony, there's poop in his stall. It needs to be picked up. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. I just think about that Captain Cam, and I think that was the best thing ever.
And that was so important to us. We talked about it, and we were going to do when we were going to do the giving away of a share of Captain Treacherous at the Meadowlands. Then I said, let's do this. Let's put a cam in his stall, and it was so important to us that it'd be 24-hour, 7 days a week available to people, so they could see, what goes like that. And we have fun with it. And I mean, I can remember one day, a great story. I had a lady from New Zealand. She had sent me a message through our website at alagnaracing.com, and she said, I don't want to alert anybody, but Captain's Gate is open. And so I get on the phone, I call one of my trainers, I rush out there, and he had played with one of the snaps, and he had gotten the snap undone. His bungee was still hooked on the gate, but he actually could open his own gate if he wanted to, and he'd pull it open, and then the bungee would pull it back close. But she actually saw that. She was paying that much attention to the cam, and from New Zealand sent us a message saying that had happened. We sent somebody out there and fixed it.
That is an incredible story. I could talk about him all day long. Oh my gosh. The perfect date, let me just tell you, I feel like I have you hostage for like an hour now. and like talking to like a handsome guy for an hour about horses, I am set. So you're welcome.
I wasn't
uh,
late for our engagement either.
no, you weren't. Good for you. Well, you got that Facebook message, so you're good. Before we move on though from Captain, do you have a favorite Captain race?
I would have to say, as I went back and watched all of his races, and his body of work was so incredible what he did. But I would say the race that stuck out in my mind will always be the Hempt final that he won out of the 9-hole. First turn, and then he got down into the 2-path, and I can remember saying to myself watching the race, I said, well, he's only parked 2 wide now, he can still win this. And I mean, that just how much confidence I had in the horse. I mean, he was going the mile of his life, and around the last turn he's still backed up behind horses, and he comes 3 and 4 wide again. And at the head of the lane I said, this horse is going to go an unbelievable mile, and he's going to finish 3rd. And he just keeps coming, and he gets up and he wins by a half a length on the wire. And I mean, he knowing what a great horse he was, and he took my breath away that day. And I mean, I'll never forget that race because it was a monumental effort.
Oh my gosh. I love him. I just love him. All right. So we do have to move on though. Before we get on to some of the horses that are racing, let's talk about your numbers from 2019. You had an incredible year. All right. So 738 starts, 161 wins, 128 seconds, 92 thirds, 6 million in earnings, and you batted like a 356 in your UTRS. This was a career year for you. Huge.
Yeah, it really was. It was the best year we'd had to date. And, when the second best year we'd had was when Captain was a 3-year-old. And, we made 5.4 million, I believe, that year, 5.6 or something like that. But, he was $2 million of it. So when you have a year like this, when we made 6 million, but the money is split up over so many different horses, that's a really good feeling because, you want every owner in the barn to have some luck. You want all the owners to have that one special horse or that one special races. So for us to be able to do that and spread the money around the barn between, Ramona Hill or, a horse like American History or Captain Midnight or, a host of others that we race, that really means a lot to us. And, we're very proud of what we got done this year.
Do you have a favorite memory from 2019?
Oh, I mean, I'd be silly to say not Breeders' Crown weekend. I mean, we didn't win an elimination, but we had all the faith in the world in the horses that we brought. We took, I think, 8 horses up to race or 9 horses up to race, and all but one made the final. And we're very selective about what we brought. We didn't bring anything that we didn't think could be 1, 2, 3 in their elimination and get into the final. And, probably the proudest moment for us was the way Ramona Hill, her comeback victory, to come back after, not getting over the track as good as we'd hoped in her elimination. We made some adjustments. She draws a 10-hole, and, to have that much faith in her, and Andy to continue to keep his faith in the filly and know what she could get done even with the 10-hole, and for her to seal the deal was
Very cool. All right, let's talk about how many horses you actually had in the barn. If you could give me a breakdown, that would be great. So if you could do like an overall number with a breakdown of the older horses and the 2-year-olds.
We have 62-year-olds in Florida, and then there's four aged horses coming back this year. We have Treacherous Rain, Tall Drink Hanover, U.S. Captain, and American History. And then whatever the difference is between that would be the 3-year-olds. I think there's around 38 3-year-olds as well training back. And those are just the Florida numbers. We have some racehorses up north, plus a couple 3-year-olds that stayed up there as well.
Okay. So we just saw like a shot of a whole bunch of horses training together, like the whole
Yes,
Alagna armada there. Okay. They
yes.
say there's no stupid questions. So I don't know. I don't know if this is a stupid question or not, but what is the deal with that? So, do you train them together in a pack? And I've seen this before, obviously, with other stables. Is that like a psychological thing so that horses get the mentality of being in the race, or what is that about?
Well, I always say, to anybody that watches what we do, or to people that are new to our barn and watch, they start training horses with us, that, basically what we do when we're training is we're basically trying to mimic a race situation. So, a horse sitting outside, if a horse gets parked first over, that horse has to sit there and be able to relax and rate to help the driver out so he doesn't burn up all of his energy being parked. So, when we do this, we're teaching a horse that if he is outside, he can sit there comfortably and rate his mile without, wanting to charge to the front or hit the brakes or whatever. So it's one of those type of things where we use our days where we're trying to just get some slow miles on the horses to teach them things. So if those things happen in a race situation, they're able to do it. Another thing is it teaches them patience. If you have a horse, you saw, I think that was a set of 14 there that we had. So they're sitting there and they're being patient. They're sitting behind a horse fourth over. It becomes second hat to them. So when they go into a race situation, they're like, this is no big deal. I'm training with 10. I'm normally with 12 or 14. We only do that the first trip, or we do that the second trip on our slow days. When we're doing a speed work, or we're training them to the bike, or we're trying to go more of a speed, I break those sets down into sets of 4 or 5. So that way the horse sitting last in the training set doesn't have to do too much work to be on the wire with the rest of them. So, basically that would have been a first trip on a slow day, and we put a bunch of them together, and it really does benefit them. And, they don't even realize they're doing work when they train in a group. It's fun for them. It's more something that, they would do in a herd environment, like in nature, so they don't really get too wound up about it. And you're not asking them to do anything because it's just comes second nature to them.
All right. I love that. I love that. Okay, so we are going to move on to some horses, not the 2-year-olds yet, but definitely some of your horses that people know the names of. First of all, let's check out American history. So he's a 5-year-old now. His lifetime starts are 44. He's got 16 wins, 5 seconds, 7 thirds, over $1 million in earnings, a mark of 147. Of course, he won the Breeders' Crown, the Tattersalls, the Quillen. Now, this is the deal. Okay, we see the Breeders' Crown here. I am thinking that he's going to stand stud, and then the next thing I know, what? He's not? He's racing? What's going on?
Well, we had talked to Dale Valente, and we had put together some initial thoughts about standing the horse of stud. But we felt we were really rushing him because he raced so late in the year. We took him and we started doing the initial testing for the breeding and stuff like that. And when the horse was doing great as far as his numbers, but we just didn't feel like we were giving him enough of an opportunity to give the breeders a chance to buy shares in the horse, and the horse to get off on the right foot as far as getting the mares that he needed to get going for his first year. And, we look back on it, and he was a lightly raced horse. We only raced him a few times at 2. He had, I believe, 5 lifetime starts or 6 lifetime starts at 2. And the way he finished up the year, he's only 4. It's going to be 5. McWicked retires. Jimmy Freight retires. So a lot of those horses retired. We said, why not race him another year? So we brought him to Florida, and he's been back here. We've trained him at 155 here at the farm. And, I mean, he's ready to go whenever things begin to open up a little bit.
All right, very cool. Now we're going to move on to U.S. Captain. All right, so he is 4 years old now. He's got 21 starts in 2019 with 7 wins, 3 seconds, 3 thirds. He made over $215,000 last year. He had a mark of 149. So, I am so curious about this horse because last year, that Glamour Boy division was tough. I mean, you had like Better's Wish, Captain Crunch, Dancing Lou. I mean, that was a tough division. So there's always that question of how is that 3-year-old going to step up? to a 4-year-old now. So I really am looking forward to seeing you as captain.
Yeah, this was another horse that he was so immature at too. And with his family and the pedigree and everything else he has going for him, we had high expectations on this colt when we bought him, but he was a very, very immature 2-year-old. We raced him very lightly. He never won a race at 2. So we bring him back at 3. Now here's a horse who jumps into the ranks of the Bettor's Wishes and the other top 3-year-olds of this year. And he never even went, he was a maiden going into his 3-year-old year. He ends up, he's third in the Messenger first over. He ends up, he finishes second in the Progress Pace Elimination behind Captain Crunch at the end of the year, third in the Progress Final. So the way he ended up his 3-year-old year and the glimpses he showed all the way through of turning the corner and turning onto a horse like American History, we said, we might as well race this horse at 4. We sold the majority of our horses at the end of the 3-year-old year, but this is a horse we felt that his best days were still ahead of him. So we decided to hold him over, which we generally don't do. And, he's training back phenomenal down here in Florida. So I couldn't be happier with how he's matured at 4.
Oh, that's cool. Oh my gosh, I'm so looking forward to seeing him race. Now we're going to move on to a couple Captain Treacherous fillies. First of all, Treacherous Rain. All right, let's talk about her a little bit. So we've got her here. We got the lifetime starts are 29, 11 wins, 4 seconds, 3/3 over $730,000. She's a mark of 148.3. She was so good last year.
Yeah, she went a lot of big trips like this mile that we're watching here at Lexington. She was first over a long ways on our other filly, Tall Drink Hanover, who didn't fire that day. But this filly here, she did it, and she did it on her own right that day. I mean, she come first up, she took it right to him, and she got the job done. And she won a heat of the Jugette. She won the Fan Hanover, that was just an amazing mile to beat Warwick Butte. So, she maybe got overshadowed by Warwick Butte, who didn't this year. But she put together a really, really solid year. And we bred her actually with everything going on this year with the COVID. We were down here in Florida and we had some extra time. We had actually talked to, my partners, Dana Parham from Odds On Racing and Big Al Stable and Eric Cherry, and we flushed an embryo on her. She's now has a recipient mare carrying a Bettor's Wish out of Treacherous Rain. So we're going to race her at 4. We flushed an embryo that's by Bettor's Wish. So I was kidding Dexter the other day, and I said, we bred the best colt you drove to the best filly you drove, and we've got a little Dexter done on the way. So.
Is that an exclusive?
That is an exclusive.
Oh my God! Yes, that is what they call my money shot right there. Wow, that is unbelievable. Oh my God, I'm getting ready to freak out right now, but I can't do that because we're gonna talk about my favorite Alagna horse, and it's Tall Drink Hanover. I love this filly so much. Oh my gosh. So now, okay, lifetime starts 27, 15 wins, 5 seconds, 2/3, over $860,000. Of course, she won. You can see there, it's the matron at my hometown track, Dover Downs. I was so excited to see her there, and she won this Shady Daisy in a blazing 148 last year. I love Tall Drink Hanover so much.
Yeah, she's been a mare that's just been so good to us. We paid $35,000 for her as a yearling. She's a great pedigree, great individual. First crop Captain Treacherous. Filly that I thought would bring 75 to 100,000 at the sale. Captain Treacherous had so many foals that sold the first year, his first crop at the sales, that by the time she went through the ring, I already had bought. I think I had 18 of them already between homebreds and what we bought. And this filly just kind of fell through the cracks, and we bought her for $35,000. She's made, like you said, she's made almost $900,000. And she's just a very good mare. I mean, she can have a rough go and she shakes it off, and then she comes right back again the next week ready to go again. And that's been a trait in a lot of the captains that we've trained, and I think that's what's going to make him such a great breeding horse for the future. Is they can have a bad day or not everything has to go right, and they don't get their feelings hurt. They come right back the next week. They're ready to fire again and go to battle, and that's so important as a 3-year-old, especially. That I think that's what makes him do great things on the racetrack.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we have to talk about one more horse that's a standout. Of course, it is Ramona Hill. Oh, look at that trotting lass. Love her so much. Okay, so of course, Breeders' Crown champ. She's a world record holder. She was a 2-year-old trotting filly last year, voted by the United States Harness Writers Association. So as a 2-year-old, she had 7 starts, 6 wins, and 1/3. Made over $400,000, 152-2. She is 3 years old now. And how is she looking?
Well, I was actually talking to Michelle Crawford today, and we were texting back and forth. And I told her, I said, you should see your girl Ramona, because of course Crawford's bred her. I trained the mare, Crawford's own part of Lockdown Lindy, the mother of Ramona, when we were racing her. And I said she's never been heavier in her. She is a ballerina. This filly. I mean, she's all legs. She's a beautiful, beautiful mare, but she is such a ballerina to look at. And I said, we now have a chubby ballerina. I said, it's amazing how good she looks right now. As we trained her at 59 here at Sunshine Meadows, and same thing. She's just a delight to come to the barn and see every day. She loves her job. She's just a very happy filly, and she's very much like a thoroughbred. If I've ever had a standardbred that resembles that. She doesn't require a lot of work. She doesn't require a lot of, tough training to stay at top peak. And, I couldn't be happier with how she's coming back. And, we're all so excited and so blessed to have her, and can't wait to race her this year. And she was a filly that was, a fate type of deal as far as buying her. I mean, I buy a Muscle Hill filly out of a mare that took a mark of 51 for 70,000 in Lexington on, I think it was opening day or second day of this Lexington sale. And you just don't buy those kind of horses with that pedigree for that. But she was an immature filly, but we knew the family, and having trained the mare, it was a no-brainer. And, it's a great partnership, Brad Grant and, Robert LeBlanc, and of course Crawford's and John Federa and Steve Wienick. And, we couldn't be happier about her, and can't wait to race her this year.
Yeah, I didn't even think about her breeding, honestly, and I'm glad I wasn't the underbidder on that. But that happens.
It happens.
We are going to move on. Yeah, not that I bet you've been the underbidder. You know what? Let's tell a story. Have you ever been an underbidder on a horse that you were like, what just happened?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We were actually the underbidders on Tall Dark Stranger. So that was one last year, 2 years ago. We were the underbidders on him. We went to 320. I mean, we were legitimate underbidders on him. And the other one was Green Shoe. And so those were 2 horses, of course, that we didn't get bought. But, it's funny because when we bought the other horse, Maverick, it was kind of one of them things where we missed out on Green Shoe, so we had to pay a lot more the next go around.
Oh, it happens. It's all good. It's all good. The universe is working for you.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, we are going to move on to our 2-year-olds. And you know what? I'm telling you that everybody thought that I was going to start out with Maverick, but guess what? I'm not starting out with the $1 million yearling. I am going to start out with Simpatico, the $9,000 one. All right, this is a Cantab haul. He is out of a Miss Otis Regrets. $9,000 at Lexington. And now I'm not saying I wear reading glasses, but if I was old enough to wear reading glasses, I would have wiped them off and thought that there was a 0 missing. $9,000? What?
Yeah, that was a colt that I saw at the farm. Brittany raised him, and I trained another one out of the mare called Unforgettable. Was a horse that I really liked. He had some issues staying together. Um, And when this colt came along, he was like, I believe he was fourth day, maybe, or fifth day, but he was a really nice individual. He was immature, but he had a late foaling day. And I can remember telling Perry Soderberg, we were there at the farm that day looking at yearlings. And I told Perry, I said, well, that'll be one I end up buying, you know? And he's like, you like him? I go, yeah. And I said, he'll be just about what I want to spend price range wise. And I couldn't believe he only brought 9,000. I mean, he legitimately, you know, he was 4 horses in, I believe, on that session. You know, he should have been a $20,000-$25,000 colt, and I bought him for 9. And he's actually been Maverick's training mate all the way down. I mean, he's trained with the Maverick all the way through. They're training partners, and you know, so far he's doing great. So far so good.
Awesome. All right. We're going to change up gates a little bit because I want to talk about a couple captains that you have. All right. So we've got Captain LeBlanc. First of all, of course, this is a Captain Treacherous colt out of Evelynx AM, a $50,000 yearling at Lexington. Actually, I found out this is this dam's first foal, right?
Yeah, that's correct. This is the dam's first foal. He was actually, we trained Evelynx AM, and she was actually the highest priced pacer to sell of her year, colt or filly. She was a $280,000 yearling. And we broke her and started training her, and she just had really poor bone, and we had a hard time with her back ankle. She had some problems with her ankles, condyles, and some sesamoiditis, and we could really never get her going like we would have liked to. And you know, we finally made the decision that we were doing more harm than good, and with her pedigree and what we paid for her, we thought we should breed her. And at that time, a couple of the partners in her didn't want to stay in the breeding business, so Brad Grant already owned half of her, and we brought in another partner along with myself, and we raised this colt. He was raised in Kentuckiana, and he sold at Lexington, and he was the first foal out of the mare. And I mean, it's a great family. It's a family delinquent account, and you know, he was stalled at a number that you know, we weren't willing to sell him for. So I bought him, and Brad and I, and Steve Heimbecker, another client of ours, a great friend of Brad's from Canada. He came in with us. So right now, Brad Grant, Steve Heimbecker, and myself own him, and we're really happy with how he's training. He trained in 2-2 and 3 on Saturday, and you know, very impressive. Very happy with how he's training.
That is why we have 2s in training. Like that whole story about the dam, like I had no idea. That's unbelievable. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to move on to another captain, and this is a Warri Will. Of course, a captain colt out of Warri Quick. Now this one went for $200,000 at Lexington.
That's correct, and I do not own any part of it because it brought $200,000, just for the record. So, but this was a colt. You know, of course, Myron Bell and you know, his group. You know, we're always trying to buy high-profile pacing colts, especially anything by Captain. You know, to you know, to have hopefully another great son of Captain that can go on to stud duty in the future. And this was a colt out of a sports rider. Sister to Warwi U-Butte and to Warwi Needy. So, you know, he really fit the profile as far as what we're looking for. And he trained in the same set as Captain LeBlanc on Saturday. And, you know, just a really impressive colt on the racetrack and in the barn. Just a really nice horse to be around, to drive. He's got a great mouth on him. And, you know, we're really happy with how he's doing and what the future holds for him.
All right, we're going to check out a filly now, and this is Notorious Pink. This is the Captain Treacherous filly, and this one is out of She's a Hot Mess, which is one of the horses I remember you training. Now, this filly went for $35,000 at Lexington, and I remember you training She's a Hot Mess because, of course, that name resonates with me just a little bit.
Yeah, we actually owned The dam of She's a Hot Mess as well was a mare that my mom found out of Chicago, and we had bought her and brought her out east, and we started racing her. And she had an injury to a pastern behind, and we did put screws in it. We raced her back. She had an injury to the other side about 6 months later. So we bred her, and her first foal was She's a Hot Mess, who was an American Ideal. And She's a Hot Mess showed a lot of ability, had a high end speed, but she was definitely a hot mess. She really wasn't that bright. She was her own worst enemy as a racehorse. So we bred her to captain. The first filly we had was okay out of the mare. She's qualified, but this filly was really just a different type of animal when we looked at her as a baby and as a yearling. So we put her through the sale because, we'd hope as breeders and we could turn around a decent profit on her, but she only brought 35,000. We weren't willing to let her go for that. So we bought her and took in a couple partners on her, and she trained a mile 2-3 on Saturday as well. So.
All right, we're going to move on to a Some Beach Somewhere, who, of course, Some Beach Somewhere is Captain's daddy. So let's check out one of his foals. All right, so we've got Odds on Whitney. All right, so the original name is Panda Hanover. I just want everyone to know that. Now, this one went for $400,000 at Harrisburg. The mom is Panera Hanover, and some people may know that this horse is a full sister to Poppy Rob Hanover.
Yeah, this filly here, every year when I'm looking at yearlings, Dana Parham from Ozone Racing, he's really decided he wants to focus in on top end pacing fillies. So the last couple of years, that's what we've been doing. And I went to Hanover and I saw this filly, and also saw another filly called Three Way Split, who's a sister to somewhere's sister to Tall Drink as well. And Dana said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Those are the two best fillies I saw at Hanover." And so he bought them both. And this filly here, he gave 400,000 for, and he bid, with an object to buyer, and that's what he got done. And I really, really like this filly. She just really gets over the ground easily. Got a great gait to her, great attitude, really likes her job. So, we're really excited about her. And, the family's alive. It's got Poppy Rob Hanover now and on the page. It's been a hard-hitting family all along, but it's a high-speed family as well. Goes back to Panther Hanover and a lot of good horses like that. So, this filly was bought to be a high-profile pacing filly, but ultimately Dana's building a tremendous broodmare band along the way. And the last, I would say, probably 4 or 5 years, he's put together some unbelievable pacing fillies to retain for broodmares in the future.
All right, we're going to move on to the betting lines. And of course, betting line, this is his first crop that we get to see this year. So the first one we're going to check out is this Keystone Catalyst. Now, this horse is out of Keystone Caitlin, $120,000 at Harrisburg. And one of the things I love about this horse is actually Casey Coleman, just the other day on Twos in Training, was talking about this horse and how she had her eye on this horse. And actually, she's still kind of watching this horse train because she's very near you at Sunshine Meadows.
Yeah, she's a few barns away from us, but she, of course, watches our sets go, and she is very flashy, and she was the underbidder on him. So, of course, she's watching anything that, that she looked at the sales. All of our 2-year-olds all of our horses, 2, 3, and 4-year-olds wear saddle pads, and Myron Bell's brother, Jeffrey Bell, put out a book labeling all the horses in the farm and what their saddle pad numbers were. So anybody sees a horse on the track that catches their eye, they can look them up in the book and see who they are. And, this is a colt that, a lot of people thought, because he was 809 in the book, he fell in a spot where, we didn't think he would have to pay $120,000 to get him bought. And Casey didn't think that as well. I mean, it was a shock that we had to give that much, but we were willing to pay it. It's actually a very sneaky family. He's a brother to a horse called Keystone Concrete, a horse that unfortunately passed away that Rob Fellows had, that won the super finals, a 2-year-old at beating Stag Party. and it's the maternal family bedroom confessions, a mare that's of course near and dear to our hearts. So this colt was a real athlete. And he was a June foal, good size, for June. We're a little worried about that, but he hasn't grown anymore since we bought him. He stayed that size, which and how he's coming. And like I say, so far so good on him. We'll just have to see. But I couldn't be happier with the betting lines that I've got.
Oh, that's good to hear, because we have one more betting line to talk about, and this one is a filly. I'm sorry, no. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at my list. We have two more, don't we? We've got Winter is Coming. Okay, this is out of Ingenious Style, a $60,000 one from Lexington. You must love this one.
Yeah, we like this colt a lot. We saw him at the farm. He was a real athlete. He was a May foal, so he's maybe a little immature at the sale. As you can tell, even from his video, he's not quite finished out as much as you would like him to be. But it's a family delinquent account, and I told Myron Bell when we first looked at this horse that he really put me in mind a lot of Western Shore as a yearling. And it's the same maternal family as Western Shore. And, I really, really like this horse. He's been in 2-2. He trained in the same set as War We Will and Captain LeBlanc the other day, and just a real nice horse. He's all boy. He goes to track on his hind legs every day, looking for something to do. And when you get to this stage of the game and they're still doing that and they're feeling so good about their work, that it's a good feeling.
I love that. So this is the filly now. Okay, it's Caviar Lucia out of My Little Beach. Actually, her original name was Beachfront Babe. She's $95,000 from Harrisburg. Again, this is a first foal out of My Little Beach.
Yeah, My Little Beach is a Some Beach Somewhere sister to My Little Dragon. So, basically when I saw this filly, she'd first be the second foal out of the mare. No, first foal out of the mare, betting line. She was absolutely gorgeous. I saw her at Harrisburg. She sold early. And the last few years, I formed a really nice relationship with Buck and Judy Chaffee. And, they're always looking for top end pacing fillies as well, building up a broodmare band. And I gave them two really nice fillies at Harrisburg. This filly was, of course, a betting line out of the sister to My Little Dragon. And I gave another one, which is a betting line betting line out of Worldly Beauty, her fifth or sixth foal. But as far as future broodmare goes, you couldn't beat the page. And they bought both of them, and they're both training really well. But, trying to limit the numbers we're talking about today. This filly's a little more advanced than the other filly right now. But we're really, really excited about this filly. And Caviar Lucia, Beachfront Babe was her store name. Come from Winback. And, she's just, so far, she's checking all the boxes.
She is adorable. Like, I'm looking at her
beautiful
and I think I'm like, oh my God, I love her. Yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful body. Got a beautiful head. She always has her head out over the gate. And you walk by there and you just have to stop and look at her and admire her.
I know that beauty contests don't win races. They don't win North America Cups and all that. I can't help it. When I see a beautiful horse, I'm like, oh my God, I love that horse. So anyway.
Well, you were former Mrs. Delaware, right? Isn't that right?
I am. Thank you. Here. All right. All right. We've got just a couple more to get through. We're going to change up the gate a little bit. We had one trotter earlier. We did some pacers. We got a couple more trotters to talk about. This is Lovey Bell. This is a chapter 7 filly. All right. So out of Somebody to Love, $110,000 at Lexington. Actually, let me just say, though, since Mother's Day is coming up, let's give some props to the moms. This dam made over $600,000.
Yes. She was a very good mare. I remember the mare watch racing. Crawfords, they acquired the mare. They put her in their broodmare band. And I trained a colt out of the mare named Mountain of Love. It was a colt that had a lot of ability. He He wasn't probably didn't have the best front end on him. He had a little bit of an interference problem, but he really wanted to do it. And when this filly came along, Brad Grant and I had went up to Crawford's to see their crop this year. I believe Brad drove, and I think I flew up. I can't remember if that's how it went, but we met there at Crawford's and looked at their crop. And this was a filly that I really liked. I mean, as you can tell in her video, she's just quick as a cat. And you know, when things were said and done, Crawford's they really liked this filly. They wanted to retain her for the future. So I bought the filly. They retained her, and she's really training good. You know, we've been a mile and 2, 6 and change with her here at the farm, and I tell you what, it doesn't matter where she's sitting at in the training set. When she hits the head of the lane, she puts her head down and away we go. I mean, she really, really likes her job, and you know, we're really excited what she can do. She's not very big. She's medium sized, but for Chapter 7, she's big enough. And you know, especially with New York in the future, she's got a lot of upside.
I love that expression, quick as a cat. I'm all over
She
that.
is
I'm
too.
using that.
Yeah.
Love that. All right. Let's go to the Trixton filly now. It's Hello, I Love You. Okay. So she's at a Flirt and Miss. And Flirt and Miss, again, give props to her. She's a Breeders' Crown champ. And Trixton, of course, Hamiltonian winner. Let's get the Breeders' Crown champ and the Hamiltonian winner, and let's make a baby.
Absolutely. This video that they're showing, that's actually Maverick and Simpatico. The video they're showing right now, that's those two training. But this filly that we just looked at, Hello, I Love You, that's the same maternal pedigree as Lovey Bell. So, you know, Flirt Mrs. pedigree is the same pedigree as Lovey Bell. This was a private purchase. Eric Cherry came to me last fall, and he said, I've got a Trixton filly I'd really like you to go see out at Concord. This is a Trotting Fillies here. So that's on the inside is Plaid and Pearls, in the middle is Lovey Bell, and on the outside is Hello, I Love You. So it's a really nice set of fillies right there. But the Hello, I Love You filly was a homebred. I went out and saw her. She hadn't been handled a whole lot. They'd opened the gate, and away she went. She went by me going 100 miles an hour with no shoes on, barefoot, and wouldn't come off her feet. I mean, trotting them 230 miles already as a yearling with no shoes on. And I said, okay, I'll take her. So I formed a partnership myself. Eric Cherry stayed in for a piece, and a good friend of ours, Ron Ruggles, Empty Pocket Stable, him and his partner, Victoria Howard, they took the other third of this filly. And, you know, she's training with the top set right now, and, you know, really happy with her. And Trixton fillies have done well. So I'm excited about this filly.
Cool. All right. You just mentioned Plaid and Pearls that we saw. Maybe we'll see her again because we're going to talk about her again.
We might.
Right? So yes, we might right now. Right, so this is a Father Patrick filly. All right. So she's at a Domestic Diva, $390,000 at Lexington. And one of the things about her, Domestic Diva, this is the mom of Modern Family. So such a great trotter he was. You raced Modern Family at 2 and 3.
That's correct. Yeah, this was a filly that I'm going to tell my age a little bit here because I actually trained Domestic Diva. And I had her when I worked for Irv Miller. We trained her for some people that we knew from back in Illinois, Paul Phillips and his son-in-law, Vinny Viviani. We trained that mare for them. She won the Flemington Jane in Canada. She was a very good mare. She was a Yankee Glide. So of course, we watched the family, watched what she had, and Myron Bell bought Modern Family out of this mare, and he was a very good horse. We trained him at 2 and 3. He had some issues with his knees early. We had to give him some time. And as an aged horse, you know, he did some really good things for Darrell Beer in Delaware. So we've watched the family ever since, of course, because we had the first one was Modern Family, and this was the next really good individual out of the mare. And I had an interesting phone call. I was driving to the Ohio Buckeye sale to buy a Racing Hill filly, and I got a call from Daniel Plouffe, and he said, we're coming to Lexington. If you see a really nice trotting filly, let me know. And I said, okay. I said, I'll do that. I said, let's compare some notes and we'll see what we come up with. So when I saw this filly Kentucky M, I mean, she was just breathtaking. And I said, Daniel, I said, I found the filly for you. I said, she's the best filly I've seen. I said, I don't know how expensive she'll be, but I said, she's the best one I've seen. He said, okay. He said, we'll see what we can get done. And he asked me if I wanted to bid on the filly. And I said, no, you bid on her, because I said, you go as far as you feel comfortable going. And, he went to 390,000. So, we ended up getting a very nice filly. And, he took in two partners later on after that. And, like I say, she's been training phenomenal. So Tim Tetrick was in town. He trained her about a month ago. And he said to me, well, she's ready to qualify tomorrow. I mean, he was really impressed with her mannerisms, her gait, and the way she handles her job. So, we hope for good things with her as well.
I heard Tim Tetrick knows a little something about horses, so we can take his word for that.
Yeah, he sat behind one or two decent ones.
All right, so finally we are up to, I feel like there should be a drum roll or something happening. All right, let's talk about Maverick, the first $1 million standardbred yearling ever at an auction. I was there that night, Tony. OMG. People were screaming and clapping. This was a big deal. This was an experience being there that night.
Yeah, it was a really a surreal moment. I mean, it was a great thing, not only for us, hopefully for the industry and for everybody involved. We played it very close to the cuff. I had made mention to Brad Grant, of course, when the book came out, that I thought this was a horse we really should put on our list. We needed to take a serious look at this horse based on what Green Shoe had done. I'd seen this colt at the farm. I thought he was very similar. I thought he had some qualities that were even better than Green Shoe. And I said, I really think that, if we're going to try to do a high profile horse for the new Mohawk Million race, that, we need to take a serious run at this horse. And I made a mention to Daniel Plouffe as well. And Brad had talked to Steve Heimbecker as well. And, I did not tell anybody what we were doing. I had no intentions of mentioning what I was going to do, or I had any plans on bidding on this horse. And when the horse came in the ring, Brad came up 2 hips before he got up to his number. He sat next to me. And I said, Brad, you do the bidding. And I said, let's see how it goes. And I had in my head that, we were going to have to go to 1.2 million. I really thought that was a number that wasn't going to be unrealistic for this horse. And, when they slowed down a little bit, we were the first one to $1 million, which was what I hoped to be. I hope to be the first one to $1 million, because you get to $1 million. And the next guy's got to be over $1 million. That really, tests your constitution a little bit there. So, when they went 1,050,000, but it took them a while to get it, Brad popped right back 1.1, and that was all it took. We got it done. And, he's been a really, really fun horse to train. He's a very athletic, and much like he looked like in his video and in person. And, we're excited about him, and everybody says, well, tell people you train him in 2.5, or you train him in 2.4, or you train him in 2.7. Everybody says, well, you should be able to. You gave 1.1 million. And I say, my answer to that is, I bought a lot of bad, expensive horses too. So, giving a lot of money for a horse doesn't guarantee anything. But, so far this horse has done everything we've asked him to do. And, we're looking forward to, what he can do in the future. So everybody involved in the horse, they're all big boys. But like I say, we wouldn't trade our position for anybody right now.
Yeah, and just to say it out loud, by the way, I do want to mention, of course, Father Patrick is the sire, designed to be, who, again, it is Mother's Day coming up, designed to be, because she is a world champion, and she's made, I think, 650 grand, props to her as well. And, one of the things about this horse that I find so fascinating is just the fact that he is training with Simpatico, who you bought for $9,000. So I love the fact that you've got these two horses that are training together, and they have no idea what their value is.
And I always tell people that the thing that keeps everybody that loves harness racing is in the business and keeps us doing what we do is because a $1.1 million horse and a $9,000 horse, at the end of the day, they still both have a shot to be the best one. Nobody really knows. Nobody can tell, what's in that horse's heart and can tell what that horse can be. And that horse that's training with him so far, he's done everything right. I'm not saying he's going to go all the way like Maverick has the potential to do, but he's a horse that you can dream about. You can dream that maybe this can be a horse that can be a very competitive sire stakes horse, and we give $9,000 for him. So everybody assumes we go to the sales and we buy everything for 100,000 or more, and we focused a lot on horses that are training that were under 100,000. And I always kid everybody in the barn, and we call Maverick. Of course, he's Maverick. When we first came in, we always called him 1.1 as a joke, and then we always called Simpatico Mr. 9,000 because I told everybody, I said, I've got 1.1 million and 9,000 wrapped into this set of trotters. So they've been a fun set to train all winter.
I do want to say also, I'm not sure who named Maverick, but I do know that when I was watching the video for Maverick, I'm sure that you also watched his yearling video. Whoever put the theme to Top Gun, because of course Tom Cruise played Maverick, right, on Top Gun, it was like immediately I was like, okay, I'm not getting this horse, but I definitely want to put my hand up because that was genius.
Katz, I believe he's the one that named him, or I should probably give credit to his wife, Lynn. It was probably Lynn that named him. But everybody, some people don't remember that Green Shoe's actual name as a yearling was the Rifleman. So, it kind of fit along the themes of the way they named these horses. So it's, I'm not sure they have a yearling for this year. I'm not sure what his name is, but yeah, the Green Shoe was originally the Rifleman when he sold as a yearling, and Maverick's just been a great name for this horse. Fits him to a T. I mean, he's part human. This horse. He thinks like a human. He doesn't think like an animal. He's such a bright horse and got such a smart demeanor about him. And he's like a kid that you just have to keep him busy all the time because he's got so much energy and he likes to direct it in a good way. And if you don't give him an opportunity to do something, he'll find a bad way to do something. So he's been a lot of fun.
All right. I believe we have some viewer questions. Is that right? Do we have viewer questions coming up?
Okay. Nothing from Blake. Nothing from Blake McIntosh. Nothing from Blake McIntosh.
All right. So I just want to say our viewer questions are brought to you by Crawford Farms and Winback, Ontario Stallion Art Speak. Our first one is from David Brown, and it says, how do you determine the drivers that will be best suited for your 2-year-olds just getting started?
Well, I've had a really good relationship with Andy McCarthy. He's been our go-to, our first call on the majority of our horses the last couple of years, and it's worked out very well for us. So I try to, anything that I think is going to fit Andy, I definitely want to give him the first shot because he's been very loyal to us as well. We've used Dexter this year as well. He drove Treacherous Rain. Drove some other horses for us. Of course, I have a good relationship for Timmy, but I really try to figure out what kind of driver the horse needs. Does he need somebody that's going to be aggressive and put him into play? Does he need somebody who's going to be patient early in his career to get him going in the right direction? So I really take that into consideration as well. We're training enough 2-year-olds that they're going to have to be conflicts with Andy and with Dexter and other people that, I really have to think about what this horse needs and what kind of driver is going to fit him.
All right. Well, our next question is coming from Chris Burrell, and he asks, can one look at a pre-race scoring as a handicapping tool? I've picked some winners, including long shots, by picking horses that were scored down aggressively and seemed on the top of the bid. Your thoughts?
Oh, I agree with that 100%. I believe, say for example that I've got Dexter done on a first time starter that has the 8 or 9 hole on a big track, and he's scoring down the horse aggressively, then that probably is going to tell a handicapper that he's not going to duck the horse off the gate. So, that horse is going to be forwardly placed by the way that he scored the horse down. And in the same respect, if I've got Andy McCarthy on something that's been making breaks, that's drawn the outside, and they see Andy scoring the horse down, calmly and quietly and keeping him toward the outside, you can probably assume that Andy's going to take that horse off the gate. So I think the pre-race score down does mean a lot, especially with a horse that has an outside post of what direction the drivers plan on heading.
All right. Our next question is one that's from Dave Briggs, and he asks, what is the best horse advice your mother ever gave you? And we do want to say hi to our moms, because your mom's watching and my mom's watching. They are our number one fans.
I think something that she always said to us was, the being in the business doesn't guarantee you success. You can't be in the business just because you're in it forever doesn't mean you're going to be successful. So if you work hard and you put into the horse everything you can, then the horse is going to give you everything it can. And, you try to cover all your bases and make sure that, you do the right thing by the horse. He's going to do the right thing by you. And, people have the impression that I woke up one day and walked to the Lexington sale and grabbed a catalog off the table and started buying, $1.1 million trotters. But, we came from very humble origins. We raced a lot of 4-claimers for a long time. And, we took care of them just as well as we took care of the horses that we have now. And, those cheap horses taught us a lot about, what they needed and what we needed to do to make them their best. And, those things we learned and I learned from her way back then are things that we still use today. So, I learned a lot about hard work and work ethic from her.
I remember one time I asked you who was the one person that you would have in a zombie apocalypse, and you picked your mom. Like, I thought maybe it would be Chuck Norris or, I don't know, Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was Donna Lee. I mean,
I think I mentioned that she could talk him into submission too. I believe that's the reason I picked her.
Oh my God. I love that woman. You know that. I love her. All right. So we're going to go on to the next question. David Forrest asks, do you have any Always Be Mickey first crop? If so, what are your thoughts on them so far?
I actually do. I have a couple Always Be Mickey fillies. And if we weren't limited on, the amount of horses we could talk about, I have a filly named Odds On Bad Bunny that actually belongs to Dana Parham from Odds On. And she's the first foal out of a Badlands Hanover daughter of Uzanaz. And she's been a mile and 2-3. She trains in the same set as Notorious Pinka filly we talked about, and she's been ultra solid all winter. I mean, she just never has a bad day, and we're excited about her as well. So I really like that filly, and I think that the horse should have a really good first year.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I know you got a lot of 2-year-olds. I said to Tony, you just have to pick some, just some. So I know it's hard to dwindle them down. All right, we're going to go on to Charles Foster. What is your favorite yearling sale to attend and why? And do you think it is possible to get a bargain at Lexington and Harrisburg?
I really like Lexington just because of the atmosphere. When you go there and you're able to do the racing, your clients are in town for the races. Hopefully you win a couple races that day and you're able to go to the sale that night, and buy for the future, and everybody's upbeat. The optimism's there. Things are good in the industry. We look at the sale we had last year. It's such a shame that, we're up against COVID-19 and what it's done to the economy this year. I hope that, we're able to turn things around to some semblance to save our sales this year. I'm optimistic that, that we'll be able to get it done. But, the economy is taking a big hit, and I hope that it swings around enough for the breeders and the buyers and everybody involved, the trainers, for the upcoming sales. But for buying horses, for going to the races, having everybody there. I bought Simpatico for 9,000, so that tells you that you can find value at Lexington sale if you do your homework. Notorious Pink was 35,000. I bought a filly a couple years ago there named somebody that I used to know. I gave $3,000 for her at Lexington, and she was a very good 2-year-old as well. So value can be at there, and value can be at Harrisburg as well. Harrisburg's more work because there's no racing. It's getting colder. You're getting a little beat up because it's the end of the season. But, you get a little optimism because Hanover's got such a great consignment. And we're able to go there and see what Dr. J's got for us and go to the farm and spend a couple of days there. So, there's great points to both parts. But if I had to pick one, it's definitely the Lexington sale.
All right. Now, I know I'm supposed to let you go now, but I just have one more question from me, okay? Oh, I'm hearing my ear. We have 2 viewer questions. Okay, I'm first. I have a question to ask. All right. We were at Prix d'Amérique. Was that your first time there? It was mine. How great was that?
It was great. I'm so glad I did it. I'm so bad about making plans to go to do things like that. And then at the last minute, I feel guilty that I'm not at the barn, because, you got these kind of horses in your care, you really want to be there. And I do it because I love it. I don't do it because I consider it a job, but I'm so glad that I went. I mean, Andy McCarthy and his wife, Kat, and Yannick Gingras and his wife, Vicky, they did such a great job of organizing the trip for everybody. And, one of our owners, Robert LeBlanc, actually the day I was getting ready to leave, he had stopped by the barn here in Florida and he said, what are you flying on? I said, I'm flying American. He said, what time are you leaving? I said, I leave at 6 tonight. He said, are you flying first class? I said, no, I just got like an economy plus. I didn't want to spend, 4,000 or 5,000, whatever it was for the first class. He said, well, let me make a phone call. I've got some points that I haven't turned in for a while. So he got me upgraded to first class both ways, it was phenomenal to make that trip, be able to do it first class. Sleep on the way there, sleep on the way home. And, we had a great time. It was a big group of us and we got along great, had a great time. And I'd recommend that trip to anybody that hasn't been. That was my first time outside the U.S. other than going to Puerto Rico, not Puerto Rico, to the Cayman Islands. So it's the first time I'd been outside the U.S. So it was a great trip.
Yeah, I would suggest it was my first time to Prix d'Amérique, and I would say that is something that everybody has to put on their harness racing wish list, because I know it's the end of January and it is so cold, but it doesn't matter. I mean, the atmosphere there is unbelievable, and I've not felt anything like that. Like, did you get chills?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was what really made it special for me was, the horse that we had sold a couple of years ago, Propulsion, who's done so well over there in Sweden. I was able to go over there and see him and catch up with Daniel Redden, his trainer over there. And, it made it that more special to have a horse that, we had purchased as a yearling. We had trained at 2 and 3 and 4 and sold the horse overseas, to be able to go over there and watch a horse that you actually had a hand in creating and getting to that point, and then going over to Europe and doing such great things over there for Daniel was made it extra special. And I think that, that part of it really was icing on the cake.
All right. I better get to my viewer questions because my bosses are going to be like, you're never allowed to interview Tony Alagna ever again if we don't get to these viewers. So what are the viewer questions? All right. You seem to use a lot of young drivers that are up and coming in the sport. Is that something you gravitate toward, or is it just timing? Are there any we should keep an eye on?
That's a good question. It seems to work that way as far as, when back in the day when we were just getting started, we were using, we used Scott Zeron did a lot of great things for us, Art Speak and some other horses as well. He actually drove Lockdown Lindy, the dam of Ramona Hill as a 2-year-old. So, he was a kid that we'd watch. Say kid, he's not a kid anymore, But we watched him in Canada. You know, he always seemed to put a horse in a great spot up there. You know, when he made the decision to move to the States, we were on board. And you know, and Andy, of course, I've watched Andy for a long time. He drove for Noel, and you know, things just happened to kind of fall into place for Andy and I, as far as, you know, we were baby racing some horses, and you know, he was there, and I put him up on a couple that turned out to be the right ones, and you know, things kind of snowballed from there. And I mean, you know, the best thing that we've had is a good working relationship where we're generally on the same page. I don't ever have to tell Andy what we're looking for with a horse going to the track as far as a race, because he already knows what we're looking to get out of a race. So, you know, that makes it very much easier for me as a trainer to be able to handle lines over somebody that's on the same page. And, you know, and Dexter, the same thing. You know, I mean, definitely Dexter was a household name, you know, as far as when he came over here from his own home country. I'd watched him a long time as well. And, you know, Nifty and Chris were using him, and I started using him that winter as well on some race horses, because Andy had taken the winter off. And, you know, then Dexter came down to Florida last year with Andy and trained some horses. And, you know, that's kind of how he picked up Treacherous Rain, because Andy had a conflict with Tall Drink Hanover. And, you know, that made a rest is history as far as Treacherous Rain for her 3-year-old year with Dexter. So, you know, Doug McNair is another driver that I used up in Canada that I, you know, got good things to say about. And I really haven't used a lot of people lately. I've used, you know, Mitchell Cushing a little bit, and I've used Drew Monty. They seem like, you know, they're on the right path to do good things in the future. But, you know, I really try to give young people a chance, because somebody gave me a chance, and I want to be the guy that gives the next guy a chance too.
Oh, that's awesome. So we have one more viewer question. Let's see. Do you see yourself racing in Indiana and competing in the Indiana Sire Stakes?
Well, I would say not say no to that, and the reason I say that is because I'm a big believer in supporting horses that I trained, and I actually drove to Ohio to buy a Racing Hill filly this year, and I have a really nice 2-year-old filly by Racing Hill to hopefully race in the Ohio Sire Stakes. We sent a horse to stud in Indiana this year called Pilot Discretion. You know, the one to Good Times. He was second in the Canadian Trotting Classic, raced in the Hambo, raced in the Kentucky Futurity. We had a deal done to send him to Indiana for stud, and you know, he's a horse that I will definitely buy yearlings by him when they go to the sale. And you know, I believe in supporting my own, and so when they go to the auction, I'll definitely be buying.
All right. Oh my goodness. Is our date over? Oh, no.
The public part of it is. The public part of our date is.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. Unfortunately, we are so far away from each other that this is like, you know what? You know what? This is the good part. I do not have to call an Uber tomorrow morning to take me home. So we're good. Oh my God. Tony, I love you. Thank you for spending time with me tonight. This has been so great.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thanks to sponsors, of course, Crawford Farms and Winback, for sponsoring all these, and the other sponsors, because, you know, with the way things are going, it's really great for us to be able to talk about the horses we're training, and, you know, let other people know what's the future holds for us as well.
Oh, totally. Thank you. I was getting ready to thank the sponsors, but you just did it for me. So that is why you are so perfect, and I love you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This has been so much fun. Thank you. And I want to remind everybody, actually, Thursday is Noel Daily with Jamie, so you guys have to tune in for that. So please come back on Thursday. Tuesday training from HRU. Thank you guys so much.
Harness Racing Update is the sport's most comprehensive and trusted news source, and the fastest growing publication in the game. HRU has you covered with award-winning features and commentary from some of the sport's best writers. Stellar photography, race news, results, entries, handicapping, and video replays. The industry's most comprehensive sales results, and Harness Racing's best reader feedback section. And it's all delivered free of charge to your email box multiple times each week. See why HRU is the most trusted news source of the sport's most important people from all facets of the industry. Subscribe today for free. To subscribe, just go to harnessracingupdate.com and then click subscribe for free.